The night.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this beautiful Monday night in September. We're coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. We have a beautiful night ahead of us. Very good thing tonight. I'm going to thoroughly enjoy this. Want to quickly thank our sponsors, Carnation. We love you guys. The very best. Okay, Preston, I'm just going to hand it over to you. Ta-da! Okay.
Thank you, Dolly. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I am your host, Preston Bennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron, and we're at episode 125 of The Light Gate. That's well over 2 years, 2.5 years now, so definitely getting more and more viewers thanks to all of you guys. So happy you could join us. I'll bring out our guest in just a moment. I do want to say a quick hello to you folks because it's because of you we do this show and have so much fun each Monday evening. So let's see, who do we have here real quick, because I do want to get to our guest. We have Teresa Levine. Hi Teresa. We have Scarlet Fire. We have Kaleidoscope Eyes representing Knoxville. Michael, bringing the popcorn as usual. Hi, Michael.
Hi, representing Knoxville. Michael, bringing the popcorn as usual.
Hold on a second.
I got it. Stupid phone turned itself up. It's okay. It's fixed.
Okay. All right. We have Kaleidoscope Eyes. Oh, I already said that. Rocco Macri. Love my Monday nights. We have Polly. Oh, Polly, also bringing popcorn and hugs. Thank you very much, Bob. We truly appreciate you guys. Are amazing. Your generosity knows no bounds.
Love you.
You too, Sunny. Amazing.
Sunny.
I don't know how you guys do it. Janie Mashburn. So very, very kind of you guys. So thank you very much. Who else do we got here? We have Robin. We have Janie Mashburn. Janie, I believe you won the book giveaway last show. So if you want to send me your address, you get a copy of Symmetry or another book. You already have that.
Great.
So let's see, who else do we have? We have Louise. We have Medicine for the Spirit. And Cherise Basila. The Owlman. We have Mountain Dan.
And Mountain Dan. Hello.
Olivia.
Hello.
Me asking you guys to get your questions in early if you have any. We're going to be talking a lot.
Yep.
Hi, Patsy. We love you very much. Hello, Fox Mulder and Energy Shifter and Flea Market Gold. My show is on. Thank you. That's awesome. We have Scott from South Carolina. We have DGK and Holly McCalvary.
McCalvary, yeah.
We have Jim. I'd rather be pressed down.
Maybe. Yeah.
Pressed down in it. Okay, that works for me.
That's funny. I like that.
Mikey from Slovakia. Oh, I just love that. It is so cool. We have Philip Emery and Tanika Bailey and J.R. Amde Schiffer. Tanika's from Houston. Very cool.
Oh my goodness.
Rusty from Mount George, Australia. We have Candy the Brave and Stargazer and Shelley and Leah and Barris and Brian. Wow, we have a nice big crowd.
Yeah.
Janie, I did, and I wrote you, but failed to send. Thank you very much. Okay. Thank God, I was wondering. Okay. So I'll put that a little star on that one, but looks like it's time. I know there's more of you in there, so hello to all of you. But let's introduce our guest, because I do have a 5-minute limit on introducing or saying hello to everybody. Otherwise, I get in trouble. So our guest tonight is actually a returning guest. We are super duper excited, really honored, because his book right here has literally just been released. So we're kind of getting the scoop on this, thanks to Gerard M Pratt. He goes by Jed, so that's what we'll be calling him tonight. But yeah, this is his second appearance on the show. He's a passionate researcher and author from Liverpool, United Kingdom, staying up late for us. He invites readers to explore the incredible world of astral projection in his newly released book, The Astral Traveller, Guardians of Light and Shadow. It's a beautifully put together book, beautifully written, very exciting. This gripping journey reveals a supernatural battleground where light and darkness intersect, uncovering higher dimensions and sacred spaces that ignite wonder. Gerard's path has been marked by chilling childhood premonitions and a sighting of a silver disc-shaped craft. His experiences have led him to unlock ancient knowledge through encounters with spirits, extraterrestrials, ethereal beings, including Aryabhata, a mysterious hooded guardian who shares profound wisdom. He actively participates in local CE5 fieldwork and HICE initiatives, and he has witnessed unidentified aerial phenomena firsthand. Through psychic circles, mediums, and séances, Gerard has honed his clairvoyance and experienced the phenomena of divine voices and spirit materialization, validated by polygraph-tested testimony. That's amazing. He passionately shares his transformative experiences through podcasts and discussions with fellow truth seekers. His relentless pursuit of truth is embodied in his motto, Vincit, let me see if I can get this correct, Vincit omnia veritas, meaning truth conquers all, which I absolutely love, because that's what we need right now is truth. So let's just bring on our esteemed guest. Boom, there we are. Jed.
Hello, Ned. Hello. I do weird things sometimes. I want to show you something. This is in honor of your book. Okay. Hold on. I got to pull it up. Hold on a second. This is my hoodie. Ta-da. Wait.
Look like a druid.
Yeah, I know. My hair is electric. We don't have any moisture in the air right now. My hair wants to attack everything. So it's like, yeah, okay. I'm surprised it's not sticking straight up. So, yeah.
Well, first, thanks for joining us, and thanks for staying up late, because I know you're in the UK, so that's...
It's not a problem.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be on the show again. And you guys invite me on, I was like, yes, I'm back on again. You know, so
thank you.
It's 1 a.m. here, but it's no big deal. And as President Doll, you know, I drive trains for a living, and I do a lot of night shifts, so it's always good by me. Don't worry about it. I'll stay awake. If I fall asleep, with such amazing guests, it's not going to happen, is it? So,
so you know, it's an honor to have you on with us. I love this subject tremendously. Okay, because I am an OBEer, and I don't meet people who are so well versed in it that you are, and it's just great to have you come on with all of this. It's really important to showcase your studies and your research and stuff. Awesome.
Yeah. I remember when we met a long time ago on a panel. I'm like, oh, this guy's for real. And, you know, I've talked to some people who claim these abilities and are clearly kind of, I don't know, exaggerating perhaps.
Well, I hope that's what's come across in the book, because it's got a lot of emotion. You know, it involves family members. It sort of keeps, it's on the edge, really. It's not written from an academic sort of perspective, although, you know, I've tried to write it with some level of academia, but it's written from a first-hand experience perspective, and it's honest. And that's why I took the polygraphs, you know, but even those were synchronistic, because the guy who'd done the polygraph test revealed that he was a spiritualist. So I said to him, I really, I said, this is going to be really strange for you, you know, because the questions were like, you know, have you been taken on board a craft? You know, Have you been taken to an inner Earth base? These are the kind of questions.
Wow.
Have you been taken to the spirit realms? And I said, this is, I'm really sorry about the. He said, let me stop you there. He said, I'm a spiritualist. I'm a member of the Congleton Spiritual Union, Spiritual Church, I should say. He said, I've been in séances, I've seen the phenomena. I thought, at that moment, I thought, how could I have doubted it? The synchronistic elements that followed the journey, he just had to be that man. And he's probably the only polygraph tester in the world who's within that. And this is how the synchronistic elements work. It's just everything just happens. But it was an amazing experience. So the polygraph was, it's not going to prove whether these experiences, I mean, I know they're real because they tell me things that nobody knows, but at least it's proven that I'm honest and what I'm telling happened, This is how it happened.
I think it's an excellent idea, because I don't know anyone else who's ever done that. I've never taken a polygraph.
Because some of them are scared to do it because they know that they're not telling the truth. That's why. I mean, a lot of people will base things on truth, but they'll add a few bits on. That's not happened. And I didn't need to, because the experiences were so profound anyway.
Yeah.
But I think people do add a bit on,
With polygraph tests, it's a unique situation, because with a polygraph test, they can only ask you a question that requires a yes or no answer. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And so you really can't add anything in, and if you do, it's going to show you to be false, because it's a nervous tick thing that people have, and it'll automatically go against your score. And most people don't know that. Most people, when they do take a polygraph, and you should know this because you've done it, is that they walk it through you. They ask you all the questions. They do a test run with it, and he's watching your responses before the actual test occurs. And that gives him a baseline to work with you anyway. I know a lot about this stuff. Ex-military, I understand about this stuff, and I know about it. And it is a very valid way to communicate to people that this is real information that you're giving, and that you are telling the truth, that you're being honest, So it's very brave.
Strange thing to do. A strange thing to do, but we've done 2 tests anyway, because before we go into detail, I mean, something I forgot to mention last time, it's actually 2 books. This is the first book, and the second book is purely based on ufology. So this book is sort of the foundation. So it does involve spiritualism, occultism, and all those things as a bedrock to moving on. Because the thing is, with these entities, if you are into the spiritual thing, then you would draw them anyway. They'll come to you. Do you know what I mean? So it's a good foundation for the next book, which we dive deep into ufology. I didn't really want to mix spiritualism, occultism with ufology, because I don't think at the moment the crossovers aren't strong enough, and people will turn their back on something. So
no, they're not. They're not the same thing at all.
I agree. So 100%.
There's a lot of crossovers. It's a very spiritual phenomenon, the UFO phenomenon, but as far as I can see, but for people in different groups, they just won't have it. You know what I mean? But I've done 2 tests. So one was based on the next book, but they're both on my website. So you're welcome to go and see them both now on gerardpratt.com. So both polygraphs are there.
Awesome.
Probably
clearer than the book, because they're probably hard to see.
Yeah. Well, we do have your website in the show notes. It's actually on the ticker tape right now.
Yeah.
Along with the link to the book here in the US. Because you can, of course, if you're in the UK, you can get it in the UK. But I put the American link here because I think most of our shows viewers are in the US, though certainly not all of them. We're all over the world right now, so, which is awesome.
It's great. Well, it's all up and running on the website, and the website supports the book. So, it's take a look. It's great.
All right.
It's a lovely website.
So we do have a lot of new viewers since you were last on.
Yeah.
You were on a previous episode and explained a lot about your experiences. But for those who are new to you, can you kind of go back to
we'll go
basics,
as brief as we can. I was hoping to give the audience more time for questions, because we were a bit tight last time, weren't we? But basically, from childhood, I had like visions, apocalyptic visions of Earth. And I don't want to be too negative about this. You know, it was a case of I was out of body and I was being shown that humanity had finally done it. It killed itself off, basically. And I had a lot of OBEs, but I didn't know they were OBEs because I was only like 5, 6 at the time. And then at 7, I seen a craft flying over the house and stood and observed the craft, a beautiful metallic silver craft. And I alerted the neighbour and knocking on the door, and she was laughing, saying, "Don't be stupid." But I never forgot that, you know, and it stuck with me. And then there was other aspects later where I started getting visitations from an angelic being and deceased loved ones and things like that, but which I describe in the book. But it wasn't until really 2014, 15, you know, when I turned 40, that I started having a lot of experiences, and I wasn't even doing anything to make them happen. I didn't know what astral projection was. I didn't know what lucid dreaming was, but I was seeing a lot of deceased loved ones, and I was traveling, and I was finding myself in locations where I was being trained and shown how to move, how to phase through physical objects. And this progressed to the point where I then started traveling to realms and meeting deceased. So I was actually going to meet them, deciding where I was going, but it was guided, spiritually guided. And that's the thing about astral projection. If it's spiritually guided, it's so easy, you know. And I can't say why the spirits. I mean, I've been told in the spirit group, because I'm also a member now of different spirit circles, that it was an ancient agreement. Agreements had been made prior to this incarnation. But yeah, it progressed rapidly. And by the time 2018, 19 came, I started getting entities coming through, sometimes with messages, and then they would just come and show you things. So they would sort of merge with my body and show me what they were seeing and tell me not to fear death, things like that. And it just went absolutely amazingly, I would say crazy, but it wasn't, because it felt so right, you know, being taken out the body by the hand. They take you by the hand, portals, and taken to various realms. And then there was the craft experience where I was taken on board a craft and got to view the whole, for miles around, 360 degrees all around the craft, and fly the craft. I was taken to an inner earth base. So there's that many experiences that I couldn't even fit them in the first book. So that's why I decided to put many of the UFO related stuff in the second book, because I felt they said to me, "We've initiated the experiment extraterrestrial," which I took to being one of the entities I work with, Aryabhata, who wears a hood. He's a member of, I'm not going to say it's a coven, but there's 3 of them, and they carry out rituals, and they've invited me to take part in the rituals. But they're also connected to, let's call them the extraterrestrial beings or the interdimensionals, advanced humans, whatever they are. He's the link between them and me. So when I was on the craft, he was there, and he was keeping an eye on things. And that's when we connected somewhat after that. I think he was happy with what I'd done in terms of, he felt I'd achieved. It's all evolutionary. It's all to do with karma.
Yeah.
They don't give you things unless it's part of your evolutionary process. I mean, you can ask and try and justify knowledge, but that's how it works, generally speaking.
Right.
And if your energetic resonance is in line with this entity, then you tend to get more information. And I believe, you know, the entity, we all have an entity that's connected to us. I know it's not like a guardian angel, but I see it as like, and this is slightly occultistic, but don't be too scared, because it's now moved into the ufology field. I mean, if I said to you, you've got a higher self, everyone goes, yeah, I know about that. Yeah, the spirit world, the higher self. Yeah. But when you tell people that there is actually a non-physical entity that lives through you and you're connected to this entity, they're like, oh, I don't know about that. And then we have Bob Lazar talking about container bodies and they're within us and they're here. And people are getting a bit confused now. So are we saying that there's extraterrestrials that are actually connected to these higher selves? That's something I'll go into in the second book, because I don't want to scare people, but there's a certain theory about, if we do have a higher entity that lives through us, then why couldn't there be an extraterrestrial being?
Yeah,
But
well,
that's
the body is a
something.
container. I mean, let's face
Exactly.
it, it is. It holds our soul.
But it scares people, Preston. But there's actually there's an author called Guy Stephen Needler. Now he's very, very big on this stuff, and he calls us secondary incarnations. So he messaged me and he said, "You're we're supposed to be the secondary. Your aspect is on the craft." And so I started going down the road of believing it's possible that the higher entity on the casual plane is actually an extraterrestrial. But this is something that is on the fringe at the moment, and people don't like to think down that road.
Well, the way I kind of look at it is that we're not really astral projecting out to another place. We're already projecting down into the physical body from our true home, which contains our greater self, where we're connected to source and have much more how would I put it, connection, I guess, to all that is.
Well, a lot of the entities I was seeing, and there was quite a few of them, and then I got the message, because I would be telling people, I seen this entity, and then I got the message that they create the entities to deliver a specific message. And one of the things that you do discuss in this book is that a lot of the guides that people that they get told they've got, like, for example, I don't want to mention names, but people get biblical names given to them. Like, my guide is, let's say,
Peter or whatever,
Saint John, or mine's this and that, but they're all grandioso names, and they've told me that they just use them to fill in, because it's reflective of what we're looking for, you see.
Yeah, well, we see this in near-death experiences all the time. People see all these religious figures based on their own cultural beliefs. So.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can have a guy called Cleopatra, can they? Do you know what I mean? What I'm saying is, it's like, it's reflective. So they think, and this transfers over into, I know Dolly doesn't like magic and that, but magic circles do the same thing. Only the entity, when he shows himself to the magic circle, doesn't admits that it changes its form to suit the group. But that's quite a dark thing.
The only thing I don't like about it is that it has, before I would accept any communication with something like that, is that it 100% identified who it really was. And in my case, because I'm advanced, I can tell you if it's good or bad. I'll know if it's a demon.
Yeah, you should feel it. Yeah.
Oh, I would know. Absolutely know. I can hear it in my head. And so I've run into that a couple of times where there have been activities like that going on here. And I was invited to go. So I did. It was a Wiccan group. And the entity that showed up was absolutely demonic. And I stood up and, they had two people running it. Okay. And I looked at them both and I said, you need to stop now. This is a demon. And they said, how do you know? And I said, I'll prove it to you. Just step back. And they did. And that's when I clapped my hands as hard as I could. And I said, be gone, demon. Goodbye. And it disappeared out of the room. And they said, how did you do that? Are you magic? And I said, no. I said, I have energy ability. And I can amplify my energy to the point that demon's got nowhere to go. Because I put light on it, it had nowhere to go. It absolved it instantly. And I said, you have to understand that magic is okay, but there's science behind that. Okay. And you have to understand what you're doing in science with magic, what we call magic. Magic was taught to the people here, or they brought it up to themselves to give them a way to explain things that they didn't have scientific authority over.
The mechanism behind it.
That's right. So it's not that I don't like magic, but I want you to understand that unless you're advanced enough to be able to 100% know what you're talking to while you're here, you need to be very, very careful. And that means don't do it unless you're absolutely sure. Positive.
And that's one thing that I learned from the traveling dolly as well. Like these entities that you speak about, they do exist, unfortunately.
Yes.
And I have been approached by many, and it is quite a dark feeling, you know. And they showed me, like, because he tried to recruit me, and they showed me blood sacrifices, and they offered me things.
Yep, they'll use flattery.
Well, it's in the book. I mean, they turned up and they offered me a villa, and that was the setting of this experience. And he said, "Do you want this?" They offered me the money, and my response was no. I said, "I'd rather give the money to the kids because I sponsor kids' education scholarships. I said I don't need your money, you know." But there's been other things they've shown me which are quite dark. So they do try. So because sometimes I can't maintain such a high vibration all the time. I've been to the higher planes, and sometimes they do get in and make these offers. But you know, you just I just say no thanks, you know. But there was a time I had to remove a demon. He was swearing down my ear, and he sort of tried to scare me. But part of the sort of removal prayers that I use involve YHWH, and they're quite religious. Although I'm not specifically a religious person, but I will use those powers if I need to fit the moment. I will draw.
I think once you get practice at this, your intuition develops to a much greater degree, so you can recognize these things. And like Dolly says, you learn how to deal with this. But I want to go back a little bit. When you were, a young kid and all of this is happening to you, did you talk to your parents about it? Do you have brothers and sisters? How did they feel about it?
Well, I never really spoke to many people about it, really. I don't think so. And it's quite shocked my parents, with what's happened with these experiences. They didn't expect it. My mum said I used to speak to people that weren't there sometimes, occasionally, and that frightened her. But it wasn't anything too much, too wild sort of thing. I had the disc experience and a lot of OBEs and the messages about the planet being sort of, well, let's not go there, but that's not good. But yeah, it wasn't as if I was sort of like inundated with paranormal activity or nothing like that. No, like I say, it seemed to happen when I was a certain age. I mean, things are quieting down, and I just started having all these experiences. But I embraced it because that's when I started learning about astral projection. I started learning about lucid dreaming, and that's when it skyrocketed, because obviously I was now part of the whole thing, wasn't I?
I think you came here for the expressed purpose
evolutionary
to be
process.
learning all of this, and that you had a guide, okay, and they were teaching you and bringing you out. I had a lot of that going on as well, and it was all the purpose of why I'm talking and what I'm doing. Okay, it's a path you're following, and if you can't learn from the people here what you need to know, they'll teach you. They'll bring you through it. And it's agreed upon before you even get here. Everybody knows that you're going to need help, and they're available.
Well, that's what they said.
Yes,
that's what they said. I mean, and they said, like, a guardian entity has agreed to teach you the ancient knowledge.
That's right.
And that's what they said. And I asked, well, what's the purpose? And they said evolution.
Right.
I understood it as fast track evolution.
Right. A lot of it you already knew, but in this life, it's really hard for everybody here to know all their past lives, to have all those memories. And sometimes you have to be walked back toward it, because your consciousness, your higher self already knows all this, but it's your physical mind that has to be trained now, because you're not in 100% contact with it. And that's what they come in for. And
That
You're
reminds me, Dolly, of a message I got, because one of the messages I got was, remember, you must remember, because they're
That's
just
right.
telling you
All
to
there.
remember.
That's
You
right.
already know.
All there. You just have to let it come into you, and it will. The more you look at it, the better it gets. There are ETs that are involved in our lives here, but there are other entities that are it's universal. It's all back to source. ETs in source with us. Okay, everybody, all life in the universe is in source. You know, it's the central hub of all existence, and so we're all related to that, all of us. What we're not related to is the experiences that we're having now. That's why there's a separation of what this is and what this is and what that is. What you're doing, and I know this because I do it, is that you're able to perceive multiple levels of goings on and integrate it into how you think and how you're experiencing it and why. Okay. And it's like a teacher who has to learn 7 subjects instead of 1, because she's teaching in a little schoolhouse with students, and they're not getting multiple teachers teaching just one. So you're versed in a lot of different things. It was brought to you that way. It's important. You know, there's synchronicity in that too, because I'll bet you money at the same time in your life while you're here. I know that you had quiet periods, but I also know that anytime that you learned something from them, it was expressed out in real life. In other words, you were running into situations where you had to employ that knowledge or that wisdom and move with it, you know, like learning, like becoming a writer and putting a book out and all this other stuff. These are things you're employing to further teach out what you've been given and taught. And it's amazing how this road works.
With so many experiences in one lifetime, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like people know I've been a soldier and railwoman, and I've been many different things. You can be many different things in one life, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah, same here. It's almost like you're driven to it. You know, it's like, okay, I think I finished this now. What's next? And you go that way.
I think that's how I am. I get into a project, and you've got to follow it through and learn everything about it. I have to know the ins and outs of how something works as well. That's, you know, a lot of people sort of wing it and say, oh, they're not really bothered. They'll just tell you, oh, this is how. But how does it work? And a lot of people can't even tell you how something works.
Right.
You know, they know about it.
Know all that is knowable. Right. That's a part of wisdom, by the way. If you have to know all that is knowable, you're working it. You know, you're doing the right thing.
Like, I think one of the amazing parts for me specifically is the amount of the variation of the guides that I've dealt with, you know, because we have this Catherine and Stuart. Catherine and Stuart are there like a duo, but they come across as like very sort of you know, he showed me biblical books and caves and things, and Stuart seems quite religious, whereas Catherine comes across, she's got an American accent. And she swears like 1940s clothes. So they're a duo. Yeah, there's a few. Yeah, there's been a few, but one of the funny ones is, which I didn't forget about him, but I've put him on the website, and he was blue in color, but he wasn't like an Arcturian entity or a Pleiadian. He had like blue eyes, like human eyes. So I thought he's probably a hybrid being. But by the time I met this guy, I'd learned how to travel through portals. So as you got the vibrations coming over you, and you sort of, you know, you're having an OBE, you're ready to go. I sort of concentrate behind me, and then you start telling them where you want to go, and you fall back into the portal. And then you find yourself in a portal. And now you might have been tired, but now you're fully energized now because you're in your astral body. And the colors are mesmerizing. And it can take a minute traveling through this portal before you stop. But on this occasion, I stopped at this, like, I thought it was liquid. And then it was like a black obsidian floor. And I was in like a royal palace. It was like very royal.
Yeah.
And then through the doors, I seen this entity. And I know this sounds crazy, and in the picture on my website, which we made the other day, he's got like red velour curtains and like a very gold tapestry sort of things in the room, but he's like a blue entity, you know, and that's what I couldn't get my head around. What's a blue entity doing in a royal setting? But I went straight up to him and I said, listen, what's going on with me mediumship, with me psychic, like having a go, because he hadn't done enough. And he said, I'm doing my best. He said, I said, okay, well, you're going to have to try harder, I said, because, you know, and I found that quite funny, actually, that I'm actually sort of having, but I noticed that sometimes he said to me, he's monitoring what I'm watching. And I noticed whenever I'm watching like certain, even like this channel, wherever, you know, I get like a tingling sensation and a buzzing in my ears. And I think, is he watching? You know, can they tune in to our mind and see what we're seeing? You know?
Yeah, definitely. So when you're going out of body in the
Mm.
beginning, did you spend a lot of time exploring the physical world and traveling to, you know, France or whatever? Or
Yeah.
did you immediately go to the higher realms?
Definitely, I would say at first the etheric plane, which is the first layer that's connected to the physical world, it sort of mirrors the physical world. At first, I didn't know, you know, if it's any different. I just thought I was in the physical world, and this is the place where spirits go to. So, you know, people might see things getting moved in the home, and I started seeing spirits in the home in the etheric plane. Now, it doesn't look exactly like there's certain differences to the physical. But this is where we meet. You can clash with earthbound spirits or ones who are temporarily earthbound, hanging around the house and things. But I started traveling all around at first, you know, going across like the Atlantic and going to the pyramids and all those kind of things. And I was just having fun. But then things turned and you started going out, looking back and seeing your body in bed, and it all went a bit ghost like, you know, where you see an entity or person who hasn't done anything to you, but then you panic and then you're back in your body, you chicken out, you know, because you're starting to see spirits and things, and eventually you sort of learn to conquer the fear.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a tough
so I
barrier
did.
for some people. For me, it was excitement. I was so excited I get pulled right back in.
That can happen. At one time, I woke up and we have what we call the indirect OBE. So this is where you know, you're not lying there for hours trying to induce an OBE, as you know.
Mhm.
You know, which you just train the mind to be able to. So you will find yourself conscious already out of the body. So it's indirectly. I mean, and on those occasions, it's just so simple. You may your consciousness might initiate when you're traveling down the stairs or something. You might just suddenly, you know, all of a sudden, you realize you're out of body and you're in the house. There's no vibrations. There's no laying there for half an hour trying to directly induce the OBE.
Yeah, most of my
Um,
early ones were like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Do you ever
yeah.
intend to go places? In other words, do you just like go willy nilly wherever you're going to go, or do you intend to meet somebody or
It
go somewhere?
depends. Well, when you're directly inducing, you will obviously have something in mind. So I call it your OBE plan. So you will have an idea about who you want to see. And that, like the time when I went to my grandfather to get information from my cousin, because she needed information, and she's a medium, but she wasn't a medium that communicates with my granddad. Um, but he was a specific person, so I had to just concentrate on the emotion and keep thinking of him as I was dropping back into the portal. Or
Mhm.
maybe I might have I've been having a lucid dream on that one. So if you're lucid, you transition to the astral. Now for me, I just go and find a bed in the lucid dream. It's a subjective experience, but by the time you find a bed and you have an OBE within the lucid dream, all of a sudden you're meeting more intelligent entities and you've transitioned to a different realm. But
Are
yeah,
you
I've got information for people. So it's happened a few times where I've met deceased loved ones and brought back information for the family. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so
Or
you know,
something
are
useful.
you able to OBE whenever you want to now?
No. For the last few weeks, I haven't been able to do it with the book and the anxiety levels and the worry about things. I did have one a couple of nights ago, but the energy wasn't great. So I think, and as Preston will know, we go through periods of where the body naturally falls into the resonance of the OBEs. there's times when the mind just can't, you're too busy, you're too left brain, you need to be quite right brain. I think for me, if I was to just, go on a retreat maybe, or just quieten the mind, more meditation, stop doing all those left brain things. And so the more meditation you have, the better really, and quieten the mind, and try and get some more sleep and think about it, and start thinking about, reading your journals in the morning and going through your memory recall is probably the biggest thing. Mindset's probably the biggest thing, but memory recall is high up there, because if you don't remember, I mean, for example, you might have had a couple of OBEs last night, but you just can't remember.
Yeah.
If
You certainly did. You almost positively had them.
That's the
You
thing.
don't stay in your body, you just go. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things I pointed out in the book, because there was one occasion where Aryabhata handed my granddaughter to me, because my mum hadn't seen her, my dear mother hadn't seen the granddaughter, and I took her and I said to my mum, I transported us, teleported us both to my mum's house, and I said to my mum, I said, you're not going to remember this. I said, you probably won't. I said, you might remember. So I knew this is the things with astral projection and lucid dreaming. As an astral traveler, you'll know exactly what's going on. You'll see your body in bed and stuff. And within the lucid dreaming in the subjective state, you sort of, things happen fast. You lose control of things, and it's not you're not in control of the whole experience. But with astral projection, you're meeting entities that are highly intelligent, and they're telling you they're in control of the situation, or attempting to be. So it's about memory recall. And I remember saying, you won't remember this, and she didn't, by the way. The next day she didn't. But it's one of them things. Memory recall, if I could say to anyone, you just keep waking up, even if you have the dream at 4 or 5 a.m., just get up and make some notes, and the next morning run through your notes and start thinking about it. And that might be enough to trigger,
or just lay in bed after you wake up. Don't move.
Yeah.
Just think. meditate. Where was I last night? What was I doing? Who was I with?
As soon as you wake, you've just hit the nail on the head. Don't move. As soon as you wake up, don't move. Because as soon as you move, that's it. Everything just goes, isn't it? So
you roll right out of it.
Think.
Yep.
But I used to use I still do. Think about, say for example, have little key things like like supermarket and this, and so if it was a car, you'd have it all laid out so you can remember. Then you go to your journal and pop them all in then. Yeah. But you've got to discuss it as well before bed. So I mean, things like that, and the crystals were a big thing with me, and they still are,
the memory thing is difficult, because I would go to the other side and my brothers and sisters would be there. I've got 5 brothers and sisters, and they would not remember. And we would actually argue about it on the other side. They're like, no, I'm not going to remember this. I'm like, what? We're talking right now. What?
Again, you've hit the nail on the head again, because I was having experiences where I would meet, if anyone was still incarnate, they would get the hell out of there fast, because you were having an experience meeting a deceased loved one or whatever, and then sometimes somebody who was still incarnate would pop up, and they would see you and turn around and go quickly. And that happened 3 or 4 times. And I thought, what's going on here? Why are the people who are still incarnate turning up? Because I was invited to family parties with deceased loved ones and all kinds of things, and I'd be pulled into the kitchen, and they'd be telling me, look, can you give a message to so and so, and I didn't mean it when I said this. And so I'd say, okay. I'd be overwhelmed, and then you'd see someone that you shouldn't be there, and then they'd go. So I started thinking, this is a bit confusing. So I think we all do astral travel, but most of us just don't remember, and that's the thing,
Exactly.
I think that we're trained not to believe. Okay, and
Absolutely.
That's a huge thing in your brain. If it's natural and it's happening organically to you, and you will remember, because your physical mind is in contact with what you're really doing. Okay, that connection is wide open, and a lot of people say I have to raise my vibration, and that's slightly upsetting to me, because what you're actually trying to say and what you should be thinking this one through, okay? It's not your vibration that you're raising. You're opening the channel from your conscious mind to your consciousness. You are who you are, okay? And your consciousness hears your brain and your brain hears it if you're communicating with each other. And you're not two people. You're just a type of duality only because you're walkie-talkieing yourself all the time. And if it's a natural occurrence to you, like a small child, you absolutely remember. That's why you have so many memories of OBE when you were young. You were it was organic for you when you were doing it.
I think you hit on something there, because when people say, oh, it's just a dream. Dreams are important, or, it's just your imagination. Imagination is a very powerful tool, and it's part of this. So I think people discount it. And that
I think our whole reality is reflective. I mean, people talk about like Skinwalker Ranch, and you don't go on the ranch with a gun because it's very reflective. And that applies to everything. So what they're saying is, we're part co-creators of our reality in many respects. And you must know, I was thinking today, actually, you think of the algorithms that are on your sort of devices that you watch. That's how it works. So you notice the more you watch something and give an interest to it, the more the algorithms will pop up and all over your social media or wherever. Well, it's just like us. The more interest we give to certain things, the more you see it. You probably experience when you've not.
It's going to keep pumping.
You can soon get rid of things in your life if you stop thinking about them, can't you? So I do believe we're co-creators in this reality.
Another question I was really interested to ask you is, the Eastern religions kind of map the other side with the etheric plane, astral, causal, Buddhic, mental, Akashic, and so forth. Has that reflected your experience?
You've just read my mind, because one of the things I was thinking, you get people who wear all the attire, don't they? And they go around and that was quite funny, because when we went to Wiltshire, we had some crop circles. There was a guy playing a flute, and they had all the new age stuff on and all that. And I said to him, what's your modality? I said, he said, what are you talking about? He said, well, how do you communicate with the spirit? I don't. I said, well, what are you wearing? All these crystals and this and all. You don't judge the book by the cover. So what I've learned is some people, you don't need all this stuff to, you're either going to do it or you're not, I don't know the full reasons why, but I don't think by putting all the bracelets on and all the heading, it's going to make anything happen. I mean, it may be a social thing, maybe that's how, but it's not going to guarantee that you're going to sort of be, some of the best mediums have just been normal guys going around to work and stuff.
No, you'd never know.
That's what I think. That's my opinion. I don't think by dressing up in all the attire is going to sort of.
No, everybody has abilities. Everybody has the ability, mediumship abilities. Everybody has telekinetic abilities. Everybody has psychokinetic abilities. We're all sentient beings, and this is part of what it means to be us.
He froze again.
It's funny. Jesus. Okay, hold on. Am I off?
No, you're back on.
No, you're on.
I did
it's a little
they just love to mess with me. Anyway, so I've noticed that when I go through, I'm astral projecting, okay, and I'm out. I meet all kinds of beings from everywhere, and by the time I was in my 20s, I finally sat down and said, why am I meeting so many different kinds of entities? What's up with that? Okay. And they said, whatever life you've lived is the life you're projecting out so if this is the last life you lived, or you're living that life, that's what you're going to project out to everybody. Okay. So you're seeing beings from all over the universe, literally, not just here, everywhere, come and show themselves to you. That got driven home to me because I had an entity when I was a child. She was Egyptian. Her name was Kuba. It was her nickname. And she was a ruler. She was a pharaoh. Okay. And a Chepsut. And she taught me a lot when I was growing up. My mother actually heard her talk to me, burst my door open, busted it down to get to me. She thought some stranger was in the room with me. And she left me.
She was right.
She left me when I was about I don't know, 17 years old. I didn't hear her anymore. She said, "You're done. I'm done for you." I'm like, okay, cool. And then I have a daughter, and she's about a year and a half old, and she's, you know, would you be just talking about Saba de Cuba, you know? And when she got a little bit older, she said, Cuba, Saba de Cuba. And I went, Hatshepsut? And she went, yes. And I was like, oh, she's talking to you now. And she said, yes.
So she
and
was talking in an ancient Egyptian then.
Yeah, a woman was teaching her. And that blew me out of the water. And I said, what kind of relationship are you having? Are you learning a lot from her? And she said, yes, she's my friend. And I said, you're around each other a lot, aren't you? And she said, yes. And I said, tell her I love her and have fun. You know, I didn't, it blew me away that it went from me to my daughter. My daughter is very psychic and very, you know, and I thought, well, that's really, really cool. Why? And I asked my contact now, Tolado, what's up with this? And he said, it's just who you were in past lives. You knew these people. They're close to you, and they're coming to help you. They're part of your help.
Which makes perfect sense.
I think we do. I think we do cross the barriers to help us, don't we? It's
So,
like I had a man who met me, and I asked him what you know why he was explaining that about the shape-shifting. How they don't always appear, because he first appeared as somebody I know. And I said, what are you doing here? You know, and he said, oh, I'm not really him. He said, I'm just using his appearance to explain to you how we can shapeshift. I think he was trying to teach me how to shapeshift. I don't know what I'd shapeshift into. I don't know. But
have you ever shapeshifted? Have you ever done that?
I don't know what I'd shapeshift into. I don't be a bit scared, really.
You can shapeshift into anything you want to be, anything you've seen or done ever. You know,
I've not really thought about it. Do you know what I mean? Have you? But
I have turned into a little sphere because I think it was Robert Bruce who wrote a book that says if you stare at your hands, they'll disappear. I'm like, no, they won't.
I read that. Yeah, there's a name for it, isn't there? Where the hands go, they glow, and they fade away or something.
Yep.
Yeah. But it was a little creepy when I saw it happening. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, God bless Robert Bruce. He's passed away now, hasn't he? God bless that man. He's gone, hasn't he? What a loss. But yeah, the esoteric, the Eastern stuff.
He was a good teacher,
Eastern
definitely.
stuff. I did explain, because I wasn't going to go down the road of calling all the Eastern names. So I did explain, you know, the asama and the pranayama and the chakras and that. I have mentioned it, but I'm not trying to. So yeah, you know, I just kept with the Western names, so the etheric body, the astral body, you know, the mental. You know, so I explain that in the subtle bodies chapter, which is chapter 4. I do go into that in a fair bit of detail, but not too much.
So do you feel like there's a difference between each of these areas?
Well, they're different names, aren't they? Well, I think a name's just a name, isn't it? Like something's the same. As long as you know, there's energy points throughout the body, probably 7 main ones. It doesn't matter if you call them, whatever you call them, A, B, C, D, as long as they work. This you can get you tied down with too many things. You just need to concentrate and mentally getting yourself out the body. Don't worry about the terminology too much. Just do it. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, that's right.
The more you
go, the more you get to go, you know, the more you remember.
But you can get yourself tied down and all this terminology and all the names of the chakras. Who cares? Just get yourself out the body, you know, and then you don't need to worry about it. Just do it first. And maybe you want to learn about this stuff afterwards. But, you know, I would say get the main thing done first. And that is just learn how to do it, and then worry about if you want to take an interest in learning all these Eastern names, fine. But it's a mental thing, isn't it, for a lot of people? I think fear comes into it as well. And I won't deny, you know, I've been hit a couple of times by spirits and things. But it's not, when a spirit does strike you, it's not like a proper hit. It's like a sensation, you know?
Why did it happen? I'm very curious now. Boy, you got me questioning that. Why did you get bopped by a spirit?
One of the chapters, I think it's chapter 6, is called the infestation. Of light and shadow. Okay, bit of shadow going on. So I'm predominantly a good person, and I'm light. I like to think I am, but you know, when you're dealing when you astral project, and this is quite common, and I know Preston will know about this, and I know you do as well, Dolly. But your psychic abilities increase, and you're open to other entities, aren't you? And not
Yeah.
all of them entities. Some might be local spirits. There's times when I've returned to body, and I've had crowds of them around me, trying to because
Yeah.
on that moment when you return to body, there's a brief moment where where you see them and they're all there. Yeah, and I've had,
Uh-oh.
Oh
He
no.
dropped out. All right, we'll get him
Wi-Fi.
back in a second. Hopefully
We
he.
had some. Yeah, no Wi-Fi worldwide is weirdness. Okay.
All right. Well, I'll use this
A
moment
minute.
to show the book. And I've still got a lot of questions I want to ask him.
There's the audience in there. Yeah. Everybody's asking questions.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see if he's ever tried food on the other side or liquid and all the other things. But here's some of the illustrations that he talks about, which are also in his book. We'll get him back here in a moment. He's gonna have to. He's got to know that.
He'll figure it out. He'll realize.
But yeah, he's absolutely for real.
Yeah.
I can tell because the things he's talking about are all kinds of things that both of us have experienced. Here
We
he comes.
go. You gonna bring it in or do it? I'll get it.
I've
Hold
just
on.
turned my main Wi-Fi off because it was blocking me. I
Oh,
think I've gone to mobile data. Yeah, so
Okay.
sorry about that.
That's all right.
We have got a storm here, by the way, so I don't know if there's any issues at the Wi-Fi.
Might be. That's
But
right.
yeah, but don't worry. This infestation chapter I was talking about, it does talk about night terrors and things like that, because as an astral traveler, I find you may have to go through them barriers. Everyone knows about sleep paralysis, the hag, and all those things, and it's just something you've got to work through. But I think for astral travelers, they do spiritual latch onto you, and I call it the hitchhiker effect. And so I give some tips on how to avoid letting them attach onto you, and clearing your sacred spaces and grounding yourself as well, because
Yeah.
you're going out there into the spirit world, then things will naturally take a liking to you.
Yeah.
Or
You're not by yourself. That's right. Yeah.
Have you ever tried venturing into what I would call the lower realms, where there's lost
Whoa.
souls and things like this?
Well, in my astral plane chapter, I do discuss the lower realms, yeah, and I've had people. It can be quite dark, sexual encounters, orgies, and things going on, bars, aggressive people. And there was one time I was seeing a guy in a cave. He was making like alchemy. He was creating things, and he ignored me, and this other guy ignored me. And I was quite ashamed because I found myself in this staircase, and this person tried to push past me. I remember I sort of tried to defend myself, and it was only a young boy come running past me. But yeah, I've not had a lot of experience in the lower realms, but which is a good thing, really.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I checked it out a few times after I'd gotten pretty good at it, because I really wasn't interested. The fun is on the higher realms.
Oh,
that's where it gets
yeah.
really interesting, and it's so unbelievably beautiful up
It
there.
is, yeah.
So
Like one of the things people say to me, and this is one of the things which, when you come into contact with a higher being, and they make the love and the emotion that you feel is like you can't even describe it, really. When you're in a more evolved entity than yourself, it's a beautiful thing to feel the energy, and that's
humbling.
when you know. But one of the things I did, and I'm very careful saying this, when I've been at those times, like people who've lost loved ones, and the feeling is terror, is horrible, but it all makes sense then. Now, how does that? I can't even work that out now. But on those times when I've been in those higher realms with those higher entities, everything makes sense. You don't worry about anything. But to say that to someone who's just lost a loved one, it doesn't. You're not going to. But yeah, that's what I found. Yeah, but then when you come back to the body, obviously, you know, it doesn't filter through to the physical brain. You know, you can't bring that knowledge back, but you know that you felt it. You know, you felt what it's like for them, because we are spirit. So as a spirit, and that's what they said, stop calling us spirits.
That's right. They're people.
You're one of us. You're the same as us. What are you calling?
That's right.
I said,
They're
well,
people.
you know, they
No.
told me off. Stop calling us spirit. Yeah.
So when you go to the other side and you're meeting relatives, deceased relatives, and having a party, does anybody eat? Have you ever tried eating on the astral plane?
Well, certainly lucidly. But I remember, like, when I got took what people call it the third heaven, the third sphere, and I kept reading about people getting taken, and I said, you know, I remember saying, "Take me," and my poor deceased mother-in-law, she took me, and I remember a hand coming around. I didn't know it was her. I thought it was my grandmother, and we ascended, and we were going for about 2 minutes, and I could hear her trying to speak to me, but I couldn't hear her. Well, I've contradicted. I could hear something, but I didn't know who it was. I thought it was my grandmother. And when we finally arrived, I was in front of a beautiful bungalow, and she was waving, and she telepathically said, well, she sent me a message which I didn't decipher. And then she telepathically said, "Do you want a drink?" And I phased through the door, and we sat and had a cup of tea and stuff. So I think as spirits in those realms, from what I've seen, the first thing you need to understand is the spirit world does exist. There is spirits knocking about. But if you don't need to be worried about that, because if you're not on that energetic resonance level, you won't sense them. They won't bother you. It's the same as, like, there's Wi-Fi in this room, but I can't see it. It's not bothering. Well, there was Wi-Fi till this thing went off a minute, but it's back now. Yeah, but you know, when you're in them realms, you just, it's so normal to be there, but you can phase through walls. That's okay. But I think they tend to live like I bet in a similar to us, but without all the crap that we get. They live in a good version. They live in a good version.
Yeah.
Have you ever swam in the water on the other side?
Only lucid dreaming and stuff. But like I've said, lucid dreaming, you know, you're lucid dreaming. Things just don't make sense. Everything, you know, you see an airplane with a bottle of whiskey hanging on the side of it. You see stupid things, you know. And if you do try and converse with a dream character, they can't really respond with anything. You know, as soon as you transition to an astral, so, you know, I've gone and lied on a bed before and transitioned, and straight away I've had a deceased auntie going for a chat and having a talk for an hour, and an intellectual talk. It's just a totally different thing. It's certainly a higher state of awareness, you know. But yeah, I've also seen my astral body with my physical eyes as well, you know, because I thought it was a spirit floating over the top of me. And I was in one of those meditative states, half awake, half asleep. I opened my eyes, and I thought I'd seen a spirit half formed. So I thought, oh, stuff this, I'm going back to sleep. And then next thing I looked, and it was me, like, smiling. And I think that was the astral body waiting for me to transfer to it to go. Yeah, because there's two versions of the astral body, isn't there? There's the Robert Monroe version, which is involving, you know, transferring and mentally, and you're not really physically going anywhere. And then there's the esoteric version, where there is a subtle body of subtle matter, and our consciousness transfers to this subtle body and travels. And I think I've experienced both of them, because when I'm in the spirit circle and yes, I'm sat there, I do travel, but I know I'm not traveling in a body. I'm just moving and seeing, like remote viewing, you know, we call it traveling clairvoyance.
Thank you. One of the things I learned when I was growing up with ET was how to remote view my consciousness to the palm of my hand and look at it. And I had to do that because I flew, you know, I was learning how to fly with them.
But could you see yourself moving around?
I had 360 degree all the way around me vision when I did it. And I could see myself coming through the physical body and then moving to my hand. I look like a blue orb when I do that.
I think what happens then, you're in the etheric body, slowly expands out of the physical in meditation, maybe a few inches.
I don't know. I
And
think it's just my mind. I was taught to use only my mind. Okay, only my mind.
It is, but
the consciousness of my
but
mind.
it's your spirit man that you're traveling with. You see, you're traveling in the spirit. The information comes from spirit, through spirit, to spirit. So in order to receive, you're receiving through the spirit, which is then bringing it back into the brain. So when you're in meditation, you're slightly out, and that's how. But you're not in the astral body. You're traveling by the mind, like you say.
Yeah, I've learned that I'm 100% aware 24/7 now. I don't go down. I can remote view at any second. I can OBE at any second. I can leave my body while I'm talking to you live on the show. Okay, I can. I'm not completely sitting in it anymore. I'm out there. And
I can't do that.
Yeah, and that's what we should be aiming for. Everybody should.
Well,
what I learned was to learn to accept the fact that I am consciousness. My physical mind is only listening. It's like when you have a computer, okay, and your computer has the talk to it thing where you can tell the computer what to do. You can actually program by speech, okay? And your computer is listening to you, and you're telling it what you want it to do, and it's hearing you, and then it sends back to you the things that you require. Well, that's what your physical mind is doing with your consciousness, okay? It's its own creation. It's its own physical creation, like your computer you created, okay? You're just sitting up here with it and communicating with it. What I've learned to do is I am 100% in contact with who I am. I hear nobody else. Physical mind doesn't override me anymore. I can go completely blank mind-wise, and I have to because I'm like out there all the time. I don't listen to my physical mind anymore. I'm in 100% contact with everything, and we should be trying to do that. And if you over-explain something or over-understand an issue, then you're not learning what is really happening to you. And what I keep trying to teach people, and I'm telling you this, I want you to say, is you are not. Your physical mind is not it's not, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a tool. It is in contact, like you're driving the car. It's plugged into your consciousness. Your consciousness is driving the car of your body through your eyes, through your mind, everything. All the senses that you have physically are the same senses you have who you really are. And you get them to meet up together. So it's not one or the other. And when you open your eyes and you see yourself smiling back down at your body, it's because your consciousness is in contact, wide open with your physical brain, and your physical eyes are looking at yourself. And it's a really interesting meet and greet when that happens, because you're going, hey, physical body,
is.
You know, and you're like, hey, right. What you can do when that happens, though, is that you can become one with yourself at that moment. You need to keep trying to do that, because the idea is to be one with yourself, not all these other different things, just one, because we all are just one. Okay, we're independent, we're one. You have autonomy, you are self-aware, conscious, all of it. When you know, I am
like that, but you're obviously very advanced. But you know, within the meditation groups, I've started. What I've noticed is I'm leaving the body by the mind, and I'm traveling and seeing things. You know, so that's a good thing. But I would certainly like to get more into the remote viewing.
When you flew, let me ask you a question. When you flew on a ship, okay? How did you fly? I'm curious.
Well, there was a panel on the wall, and somebody else placed his hand on the panel. So I said, "Can I have a go?" And I placed my hand on the panel, and nothing happened. This is the thing, you see. Nothing happened at first, but the next time I tried, I had to concentrate, and I linked in with some kind of energy. I could sense it was intelligent, and it knew what I was thinking. I knew what it was thinking, and I was.
You become one with the craft.
For miles
Your
around. My consciousness was the craft. You know, it was linked in with everything, and it was quite a profound moment, because I've never seen 360 degrees for miles around when I've been in the
Well, you've
astral bodies.
experienced what I'm telling you. I can see 360 degrees 24/7 all the time now. I see it in front of me and back of me. I know I have unbelievable consciousness going on. And when I fly the ship now, see, I remote view to my hand, my consciousness, and then it goes into an electromagnetic field that's stable. That's where the craft entity is. It's waiting for me consciously, and we merge together, and that's when I become the craft with the craft, and I fly psychically that way. My physical body knows what's going on. I'm 100% in control of myself while this is happening, but now I am the craft itself, and I stopped seeing with my own eyes. I see through the craft. Okay, it sees everything.
Yeah.
And
well, this is what's amazing about OBEs, is because they have such potential. It's unlimited.
right.
And if
Yeah.
you do the
I mean,
accounts of
how far do you go?
they basically bilocate. Padre Pio never left his church in Spain. He was seen all over the world, physically administering to people. There's a lot of cases of this. This is something we can all aspire to.
Yeah,
I think that's something. I think now I'm going to have a bit of quiet time after the book's out. I'm definitely going to delve into try and like push things to take them as far as I can. You know.
Have you ever had a shared OBE? Dolly and I have had some OBEs together, and I never was able to do it until I met Dolly. Because I have tried with siblings and people. My sister-in-law, she's pretty good. She can do this. She would not remember. Because I will go OBE with people, but they don't remember it.
Yeah, and that's so frustrating, isn't it? It's so frustrating.
Dolly did though. So. Yeah, well, maybe we should try it together one time.
You didn't originally.
I never want to try to hook up one night. We pre-plan a night to go out and meet somewhere, and then write it down, and then come back and talk about it. Because
have you ever been able to affect the physical environment? Because Dolly did that once. She came into my house and pounded on the floor. And I know I think Marilyn Hughes talked about being able to move an object, and others have done it. Robert Monroe.
I've done my light switches and things like that.
Oh, cool. Yes. You're good. You can do this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But I've not something, you see, you know yourself. I mean, maybe not so much you, Dolly, but when you're on a bit of a time clock, when you know you're out the body, you think, you haven't got, and I've rushed around trying to complete my OBE plan.
You need to drop. You really have more time than you know. Time stops.
I know, but
you
just don't want to get pulled back to body either, do you? Because you're in a rush to get things done. But yeah, I think what happened was I was they let me loose, and I was a bit naughty. I pushed the guy off a bicycle, and I knocked a cup of coffee out of somebody's hand, so I got punished for that. And they wasn't too happy about that. So whenever I'm out the body, I wouldn't sort of do anything, and I was careful where I went and whose homes I went into, because sometimes you don't know where you are. I found myself in loads of different houses, and I didn't know whose house they were, and I was looking around, and there's someone like making dinner in the kitchen. They can't see you. You're like, but
you did it because you wanted to be seen, right? You're trying to get them to see you.
But like when I was last time, I was in a town, and I managed to push a bicycle and knock the bicycle over, and then I managed to push a cup of coffee out of someone's hand, and they weren't happy about that.
Yeah, over people's heads.
Probably freaked out. They talked about it.
He said I was being
the night I stomped on the floor, he didn't see me, and I got mad, and I started stomping on the floor. He woke up. He's like, "What?"
Well, he said I was like behaving like a malevolent spirit, and that's what the words were. But I've come back to the house, and I've tried to morph with my wife's body. She's been sleeping, so I've tried to, and my hands have gone through her, and I've sort of, it's one of them things. I have tried, but I think if you haven't been out for a couple of weeks, sometimes you're just happy to get out the body and have a fly around and just experience the freedom of being in there. Yeah. Sometimes you're just happy to get out there and just have a fly around and enjoy it. Yeah. But when you start having your plan, you start thinking. But sometimes, like the guides will have a plan for you anyway. They'll already have something laid on, an experience. And Joseph Birks has come out with the V1, the V2, and the V3. Now, you might not have heard of this, but the virtual realities that he claims that they can take us to. and they're quite interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Preston likes to do a thing. He likes to do a thing where if he feels like he's getting too much weird things that don't really exist all around him, he just has a statement he puts out there. He said, "All illusion end," so that you're only seeing what you're really supposed to be seeing, and it'll drop and end and let him see what's going on.
It was actually a spirit who,
Yeah,
pointed that out to me, because I was saying, "All illusion, go away." And he said, "No. This is what you say. All illusion end." Very simple. It's much more
if you
direct.
believe it with emotion, it will end,
Yeah.
and then you'll probably find yourself floating next to the body again, back where you originally started,
Exactly.
or back in the body. But it's good to know that you can return to body, because I've been trapped before. I've been trapped in rooms, and I wouldn't let me phase through the wall. I tried to phase through the wall, and it wouldn't let me. And I thought, what's it? In the end, I just sat down in this room and just thought, best return to body. But you don't want to go call on spirit guides all the time. I mean, if you need to call on your guides, that's fine, but don't be calling them for every little thing. It's got to be something serious. You've got to learn to deal with it yourself, really.
So are you out there alone, or at least the way you perceive it most of the time? Because I don't have a spirit guide guiding me around. Every now and then one will show up, but I'm out there.
They'll take you sometimes. For example, especially if you make a request, like they give me a lesson, teach me something, because they're not like some kind of gopher sort of. If it's something that's going to evolve you, or if you say, "Please teach me a lesson in prayer," and they'll plan something. It may not be a lesson you enjoy. You're scared to ask. What's the lesson they're going to give you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they will take you. I've been
for.
took by the hand a lot, yeah. But I'm not saying you hang around with you in the spirit realms. There was one time I crash landed somewhere, and I was taken to a house by some local people, and they had to come and rescue me because I didn't know where I was. And I remember a guide came and took me back. So they don't hang around with you as such, but they will pop up or take you by the hand. Taking you by the hand's a very big thing, to be taken.
Husband got drug out once. He asked a bloody question. He wanted something for sure. He wanted to meet an enlightened master, and she showed up and grabbed him by the hand and whoop, took him out and took him there.
Yeah.
And,
the most interesting thing are the portals, the teleportation. I mean, I've had normal dreams where I've had a voice say, "Why don't you just teleport?" I remember being in a dream and thought, "I've got to walk all the way over there," in the dream, and slightly lucid, and the voices come from nowhere. "Why don't you just teleport?" I thought, "Who's that?"
It's like remote viewing. If you're in remote view, you know that you just send your mind wherever you're going to go.
Yeah,
okay, you don't travel there. You're already there. You wait. You're in it suddenly. And when I OBE, I do that a lot. I'll come out and I'll decide. I'm deciding what I'm going to do, and I'll just decide I'm going to be here, and then I'm there. I just instantly get there.
But I just wanted to say, one of the most important things about OBE and astral projecting is it's a fast track route to psychic abilities, because once your energetic resonance, in order to travel in the astral body, in order to do these things, your energetic resonance has got to be fairly good. So you'll start having psychic experiences. You'll start seeing synchronicities, the ones, the twos, the threes. It all happens. And when I was attending the spirit group, I was starting to get a lot of like visions straight away within this meditation sessions, because I'd never meditated before. Even before my first OBE, I don't even think I'd meditated. So you don't have to be some super guru meditator to do this.
No, there's only a few obstacles. It's fear, skepticism, laziness, things like that.
If you've got the right mindset, but fear, you just hit the nail on the head again. Fear is an amazing, terrible thing. It can hold people back. And we've all experienced it. I mean, I have on occasion, because I've been woken, like I said before, not hit, but being poked, because you're attracting spirits, I think. I mean, when you're doing this stuff, you will attract them, unless you pick your...
You can also bloody scare yourself.
I feel like they're frozen again there. Yeah, unless you put pretty firm ground rules down, you will sort of be hassled. May not be hassled, but you will come into contact with spirits in the home and things like that.
Yeah, another
But
thing that I think is important, because Robert Peterson talked about this in his book, and it really struck a chord.
he's
with me,
really
is that,
good, Robert.
yeah, he's a really cool guy.
Well,
And
he
I love his.
inspired a lot of the stuff, and he speaks very highly of you as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I loved his books. They were amazing.
I did.
But
I still do.
he
But,
said something which kind of really struck a chord with me, which was, you'll have a much easier time with this if you are a good person, morally good. And I think that that's absolutely true. And I see that with you, because you know, in your book, you said you're giving portions of the proceeds to children.
Yeah, it's on my website, because there's a scholarship. So I put 2 kids through them at school now, but yeah, definitely some of it will go to the kids.
So these are the sort of things that will absolutely help people along on the spiritual path, because you have to learn to choose the path of good before you can really develop. So I think it's an important point.
I think it's very important. I think morally, if you've got the light with you, I think you've got much more chance of succeeding with this.
Yep.
I don't know if you can do it in your dark. Maybe you can, but certainly some of the spirits that were helping me, I had like angelic voices singing in the morning, and they were very sort of light spirits. And the confusion was just because the guy wore the hood and all that, you start thinking, well, he must be the dark. It doesn't necessarily mean that way. You can't judge the book by the cover. You'll feel it. But when he placed his hand on my head, I felt serenity, love, one with the universe.
Yeah.
You feel it. Do you know what I mean? You just know. But when I have come into contact with dark entities, and I've not, and you know straight away what I
Yes,
did
you do.
anyway. You felt.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to devote some time to questions from chat. Would that be okay?
Oh, yeah. Because we didn't leave much time last time, did we?
Yeah, let's do this. Yeah.
So we've got like 20 minutes, a good 20, 25 minutes left.
Let's go for it.
And there are some good ones. I saw some really good ones. And guys, if you have them, now would be the time to ask them. And this one's from Flea Market Gold. And this question is for our guest, as well as President Dolly. What is your top tip for traveling in the astral plane?
Good. Well, I think I've already said, I think, about the memory recall, mindset over technique. But hypnagogic manipulation is probably my biggest tip to achieve hypnagogic manipulation. So this is remaining awake for as long as you can and trying to see the colors and the patterns and trying to move them, learning how to manipulate the hypnagogic imagery. I would say
mine would be a couple of things. Let go of fear. You're safe no matter what happens. Learn how to relax. People don't know how to relax, and they're sleeping with their teeth grinding and their fists and their tongue. Learn how to relax. And ultimately, it's intention. Just really intend to do it. Focus on it. It's like learning a computer language or an instrument or anything, a video game. You have to put the effort forth.
So well, that's right. There was a woman who wanted to do it, but she wasn't prepared to lose any sleep. I said, "Well, I can't help you. You're going to be tired doing this."
What's your tip, Dolly?
Nothing. Know that you are perfectly fine, that you're in your natural element, that this is the most perfectly natural thing for you to be doing. And intention is very good. Lucidity. In other words, pay attention, notice everything, see it for what it really is, and then write it down. When you come back, write it down. Do not lose it, because our hippocampus has a tendency to throw it out like a dream, and it's not a dream. This is real. It's happening to you, and you need to understand that it's real. So write it down. Test it out.
And I would say, if you're struggling, go onto my website, and there's some lucid dreaming tablets on there. Now, I get a 20% discount on these tablets, Astral 20. But the tablets won't cause you to lucid dream. They will give you more in-depth dreams and more memory recall. But like we've all said here, the intention's got to be there. You've got to put the groundwork in, your reality testing, checking. You you can go through this Pavlovian reaction. So you go through the day and you regularly do check, count your fingers. Am I dreaming? Look at the clock. You're thinking about it. You're intending, and it does transfer into the lucid dream. You know,
Yep.
suddenly you'll find yourself counting them fingers, and oh, I'm dreaming. Well, look at the
Right.
clock. Well, that looks funny. It's a lucid dream. So there you go.
All right, I'm going to pop this one real quick because it's kind of off topic. Preston, how's the book coming along? Can you reveal the title yet? I'm on page like 80, and no, I can't reveal the title.
Oh,
That's the sequel to Symmetry. Okay, so moving along. Sorry, Vermouth. I'm getting there. I'm working on it. So this one question is from Leah, and she's asking, do you hear a
Hi,
whirling sound before you travel? And what about the silver cord?
okay. I'll start, shall I? Silver cord. Never seen it. The silver cord exists, and it's an energy tether, but it's an invisible energy tether. So don't think it's flopping behind you wherever you're going. You don't look behind you. When you're astral traveling, you just think forward. But I have felt depleted energy, and
Yeah.
I think
You're not
the
an
energy
astronaut.
comes. Yeah, I think
Right.
the energy comes from the physical body. I think that the more healthy you keep the physical body, the more energy your astral body will probably have. I think that's it.
right.
And what was the other bit
Heart,
about the?
the electricity.
Do you hear a whirling sound before you travel?
I don't. I don't know if you have. I mean, I've had the vibrations and the paralysis a couple of times, but I've never had like roaring noises. You know, you sometimes get the odd word, like you might hear a voice or something. You know what I mean? You know you're on the right lines, then you're nearly there, and you hear the voice. But can I just point out, one of the best ways to do this is to try and wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning when you're really relaxed. You know
Yep.
what I mean?
Yep.
And go for it then. Trying to
Walk
do this
around
from
for a few
cold.
minutes, go back to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but trying to do this from cold.
Don't go back to bed. Just lay there and wake up. Yeah.
Yeah, people, you know, one of the techniques is, oh, get up for 20 minutes and then go back to bed. I always find you don't need to do that. If you can train the mind to stay awake for a few minutes when you know, you'd be on the end of a REM cycle probably.
I lay on my back because I don't sleep on my back, and so it's easy to just get to the edge of sleep and stay awake, and then poof, off you
Well, I'm
go.
surprising you get any sleep because you're writing that many books now.
I have a secret twin. Don't tell anybody.
But we normally have about 5 REM cycles, don't we? So it's normally about the 4th or even the 5th. They say that's when you should go for it and wake yourself up with an alarm clock or something. But again, some people don't want to lose any sleep. So with those, they reckon 90% of OBEs will happen during with those periods in the night or through lucid dreaming. To do a direct one from the waking state is no easy feat. It took me 6 months to achieve that.
Took me a year.
Let go of your body. You have to literally let go of your body.
Absolutely.
You know.
I finally did it, but it took me years. Okay, but I in terms of a whirling sound, I have heard roars and all kinds of knockings and clunking and swear words even, and just they call them exit distractions. And that was something that I experienced quite a bit of in the beginning, but I got through it. As far as the silver cord, I've seen it twice, but I really specifically looked for it. I'm like, this is driving me crazy because people are talking about this. So no, I normally don't see it. I don't think most people do.
No. Well, most people aren't looking behind them, are they really?
No, not at all.
Dolly, have you seen the silver cord?
No, I just leave. I started doing it when I was really small.
You just go
I'm
fast.
out of here. Yeah.
All right. Very cool.
But you mentioned before about the dweller of the threshold, didn't you? When they're trying to distract you from going because there's a part of you that doesn't want you to go. It's like scared, like a mother protecting its child. That was what a Dion Fortune, which was an occultist, who said, they don't want to let you go. They want to keep you tethered to the physical body. Eventually, they have to let you go, and they get on board and help you. But yeah.
All right, here's a UFO question. What are the Jellyfish UAPs? I've never gotten a report of them from firsthand, so I couldn't tell you. I don't know, Jed, what you've heard about these.
When I've seen a craft, it's a spherical object, and I was told in the dream to go to the woods, and me and the wife went to the woods, and we seen the craft. The jellyfish, I think they can they can show you in them any way they want to. They want to appear. I don't think it matters what they look like. I mean, I think
Exactly.
I
it's
think your
just
government-sponsored holograms.
yeah.
Literally, very much so.
Okay,
messing
I'm gonna move on then, because I like this question a lot from Medicine for the Spirit. I've heard some say there's a limit as to how long you can be out of body, that the body can only live so long without the astral body. What are your thoughts on that, Jed? I've definitely got some
Well,
thoughts myself.
I don't. Time can't be sort of dictated when you're out the body. You don't know how long you've been out for. And you can. And there was that time when I was stuck in the wall. I told you last time, and I counted 15 seconds before I was shouting for help on purpose to try and trick someone to come and help me. And this poor lady come and help me. This spirit. He was actually. But that was 15 seconds. So you can count in time as such. But I don't know. I mean, how long? I don't
Your
really
body
know how
will
long.
pull you back on its own. It'll have a moment where it needs something and it will actually yank
Yeah,
you
you're
back.
never going to get stuck
Yeah,
out there
you either
like
have to go to
forever.
the
It's never going to.
bathroom, or you start to hiccup, or you have a cough, or something's buzzing around you. Something physical will start.
Yeah.
You know,
The problem is not how long is it. The problem is you're not out long enough. You're getting pulled back to the body. That's the problem.
Yeah,
You
for
don't
me
need
it
to
was
worry about coming back.
I could do it for a minute for a couple of years and finally extended it to an hour. And there's been times I've been out all night. And there was one time I was way the heck up there. I don't know where I was, but it was a realm. I don't, like you said, they're
Yeah.
all names. Who cares? But I started to feel like if I don't leave now, I could stay here. It started to get really real in a way
Oh,
that
that's
I've never
scary,
experienced.
Preston.
Yeah, it did. It kind of freaked me out. I'm like, I think I'm going to go now, because usually, like you said, there's like an hourglass. You can kind of feel the time running out, and like, oh, I've only got a few more minutes, and then whoosh, you're back. So
Yeah.
the trick is
I mean,
staying
there's
out.
time.
yeah,
I
your
was
body
at a
pulls you
family
back.
party. I was at a family party where I was fully conscious. I was, with deceased loved ones at this party, and I was conscious about how long I was there and where I was going. And so, yeah, sometimes it just depends on sometimes how your mind state is on that time. Sometimes you can be more tuned into those things, and sometimes you're just running around like a nut job trying to get things done, and like you've got no time. Yeah, there's no one. I don't think there's any one fast rule for. It's very fluid. A lot of things can happen fast, and it's never the same. I don't think.
Yeah,
You know.
it's true. That's true. It's never the same. It's always something interesting and new. It's amazing.
Mm.
All right. Well, here's a question from Robin, which I don't know if you can answer. I've certainly read about this. I don't have any personal experience. What happens to the spirit when in coma?
Well, if time is an illusion, then maybe it's not what we think.
Yeah, your physical mind in a coma can't remember anything. Okay, it's asleep. That's what a coma means. That your physical mind is dropped into a deep, deep, deep sleep that you can't react to. But your consciousness is alert and aware, and it's hovering around you and doing all kinds of things. It's not going to go very far away from you, and it might actually be trying to figure out how to get you help. Your consciousness is very active and it's capable of helping you, and it just depends on how it reacts to you being in a coma. I've heard people come out as a nurse. I've heard people come out of comas and say, I was trying so hard to get back in, and it took 50 people to help me get back in. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he said, I don't know. There are people everywhere around me, and they all joined hands and worked together to help heal me so that I could get back in. I said, you mean wake up? And he said, well, yeah, maybe that was it. And I'm like, okay. And that's what I get a lot from patients in comas coming out. I've been in a coma in my lifetime. And when I came out, I could hear the doctor trying to get my attention as I was coming out of the coma. And I heard him talking to me. I knew what he was saying. And I wanted to react to him, but I wasn't physically connected up yet, But my consciousness was completely aware. I was aware of what was happening to me. And when I finally could move and talk to him, I did. And he said, are you all right? And I said, yeah, I heard everything you said. And he said, what did I say? And I told him, and he just like, wow, you were conscious? And I said, some kind of conscious, some kind of way,
We're always conscious.
Yeah.
That's another thing I don't think people realize. When we go to sleep, we don't lose consciousness.
No, because your consciousness is
different
aware.
realm.
Yeah.
But when I've been in the spirit group, we've had spirits come through that say that they've been gone 10 years, but it's only felt like a few weeks to them. So it's possible that when if you're having a coma and you're in the spirit, the time differences may
Weird.
not be the same.
Yeah, that's true. There is no time. That's the point.
I've read about this. There are
Yeah.
some people who do describe what we call near-death experience. Others do recall floating around the body. Others said it was like nothing. They don't remember anything. Went to sleep. They woke up and they were like, "What? 5 weeks have passed? Are you kidding?" They had no idea.
Yeah.
So I think there's a whole bell curve there. All right. This one is kind of off topic, but all questions are welcome. Dolly, can you speak about tall whites? I've been listening to military people with weird info about them. Please be brief because we do have more questions here.
Don't believe everything you hear from military people, please. Yes, there are people that are tall white. They're just people like you and me. They're more related to us than you know. They live a long time. They're analytical and very, very smart. And they're not really helping the government at all. Don't believe any of that. They have nothing to do with them. Those are tall tales. Okay.
Have you had experiences, Jed, with the tall whites?
No, I
Yes.
haven't. No,
Oh,
not with the tall whites. Only greys, the blue beans, Nordics, but not tall whites. You know.
All right.
I
Here's
can't say.
another interesting question from One Day Better. Hi, everyone. Excited to be here. How long after transition do you let go of your humanity and evolve into a more well-rounded spiritual being?
Well, in the book, I discuss a number of different planes, you know, and I think one of the top ones is the Nirvana, isn't it? But I mean, they're saying that Plato is still on one of the planes now. I mean, it can be thousands of years. It can take thousands, from where I understand. You know, some of these entities that you go face to face with in the astral, they speak Latin or Hebrew, and you've already mentioned ancient Egyptian. You know, you're dealing with entities that have been around for a very long time. So I personally think it could take in our time thousands of years for these, you know, evolving to go back to the casual body, wherever the highest state is. Which, you know,
I think it's a very difficult question to answer because there are people who transition very easily and leave their world behind, and others who are absolutely rooted to the physical plane for one reason or another. I don't think we ever really lose our humanity, but
this
I
is
don't
what
know.
Monroe spoke about, isn't it? There's people that just seem to be stuck and can't move.
I think it has a lot to do with awareness, how aware you are, how evolved you are. Okay.
I mean, my friend died of alcoholism and he was trapped on the lower plane. I had a relative who had, you know, some emotional issues. I found him in a very dark place. Whereas my nephew, he died and he was up in the heavenly realms the next day. My mom, she's so high up there, I can barely get to her.
Well, I think that's what William Buhlman says, isn't it? That's why he's trying to. You need to go as high as you can. So all the training you're doing with OBE, as soon as you know this light comes, you need to try and get as high as you can.
Yep. That's a good question, One Day Better. And here is another interesting one from Dunsel 2026. Anyone on the panel, have you astrally traveled to the moon? Are there underground bases there?
This is something I tried to do. I remember being on the moon, astral traveling, but a lot of the time I found myself in the upper atmosphere or the lower atmosphere, and that's as far as I can go. It's like a limit, a block. But I do remember being on the moon, but I can't say I managed to, you know, have a lot of knowledge of what I've seen. A lot of the time, you know, you don't. Again, memory recall, isn't it? If you haven't. If you're not in a good place with that. Then...
I know Robert Monroe talked about going there and he had students who did. And so when I read that, I'm like, well, I'm going to try it. And I did it. And I stood there on the surface. I'm like, oh my God, no, I'm not going to tell anyone this because no one would ever believe me. But I flew around and I did see a structure. So, but at that point, I kind of felt like I slipped into a lucid dream a little bit. So
who was the remote viewer who wrote the book Penetration?
Ingo Swann.
Swan, wasn't it? And he wrote a lot about the moon and bases on the moon, didn't he?
There are no bases on the moon. There are no.
There's remains
of an outpost on the backside, and it's old, and it's not.
Actually, no. I correct that. It was Jupiter. You mentioned Jupiter, not the moon. But
Okay.
he also said that he had a very negative spin on extraterrestrials as well. So we won't get too far into that.
Yeah.
But that was Ingo Swann. But it was Jupiter, not the moon. Sorry.
Yeah, the moon doesn't have any bases on it. ET doesn't like to live in bases anywhere, especially outside our magnetosphere in our planetary systems, because gamma radiation is a very big bad dog, and it hurts them just like it does us. So the moon's not really a safe place to go. Mars is a dead cord planet. There is no magnetosphere there. Nothing, so it's like no bases on Mars or the moon.
Okay.
There's one outpost that's in the backside. Yeah, there's a structure. It's an old structure, and they know it's there. They've seen it. NASA has. They have it on film, but they have not been to it.
Okay, we've got some more great questions. All these questions. I'm so glad we took time for this. This is from Patsy Foister. Hi, Patsy. If you visit someone in the physical when you are having an OBE and speak to them, can they hear you?
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay.
I'll tell you what I experienced. We've had OBEs within the spirit group, and I've heard whispering in people's ears, and people have told me that was them during an OBE. So it is possible to produce sounds in the physical during your OBE, but I don't know anyone who's had messages. I've never, or have I? Give people messages specifically. And whether you would do it in the ear of somebody, like you're hanging around the body.
No, it's all psychic. You don't have to be physical at all.
Yeah, it's more telepathic.
When he first visited me OBE, I was awake. I was on the phone with somebody in the middle of the night. Okay. And when I turned and saw him, and he realized that I looked at him, and he said, "Oh, you see me?" And I said, "I can't talk to you right now. I'm on the phone with Rob." And he got upset and he disappeared. And I was like, "Well, what was that?" So I called him the next day, and he's talking to me, and I'm not talking about it yet. And I finally couldn't handle it anymore because he didn't talk about it. And I said, "I saw you last night." He said, "Dolly, what did you say?" And I said, "I'm on the phone with Rob. I can't talk to you right now." He thought I said, thought he heard me say, "I'm being robbed." And it upset him, and that's why he, "Oh, you can see me."
I think, do you know what? I just want to add something here. It's important as an OBE as well that you've got to be careful when you're going around doing this stuff, because you could actually lower your evolution. So if you're going like I pushed the guy off the bicycle and I knocked a cup of coffee out of someone's hands, I got punished for that. So I was a bit, you don't want to go around sort of doing too many things. You've got to respect people's privacy. But no, I have had table rapping and things in things and in the meditation room and whispers. So then you start thinking, is a lot of this stuff being done by OBEs? It's not always spirits, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I will say that you can definitely hear people talking if you're OBE who are physical. I have tried to talk to people who are physical, but one time I was visiting my brother. He's physical, he's awake, I'm OBE, and I'm talking, and a part of him spoke back to me. It wasn't him. I don't know how to explain this, but Robert Monroe talks about this.
Wasn't his physical mind? It's consciousness talking to you, his consciousness.
Yeah, I would say, probably that.
Yeah, that's happened a few times, and it was a little disorienting. I'm like, whoa, because I knew he didn't remember.
You realize that you hear me, I hear you, Preston hears you, everybody who's in the room with us here hears us, physically hears us. But there's another level of that. We all are psychically listening to one another. And you can impress somebody if you want to with a psychic message. You can send them a message and have them react to it. That's because psychic doesn't know time, space. There's no boundary. You can go clean across with a message. And we have to wake up to the fact that we're all communicating with one another. You know what crowd consciousness is, right? Everybody's hearing everybody psychically. That's what that is. And then you have to learn how to tune it out a little bit, turn the volume down on everybody for a while. That's what frequency is. Each person has a conscious frequency that they're emitting, and we can each hear that frequency of each person there is, and we can either turn the volume up on it or turn it down, hear it or not hear it, take your pick. refuse to hear it or want to hear it. It is totally up to us.
Wow.
It is
Agreed.
you know, I'm sure that you know that you can have a friend clean across, you know, like if you're in the UK and if you had somebody here and you're thinking about a song and they're thinking about you specifically and they're going to call you and then suddenly they do and you're thinking the same bloody thing. You've got them on your mind, you're hearing that song as well, and boom, you're psychically connected up and now there's a physical phone call to verify it to one another.
Happens all the time.
That's how consciously connected we all are. So all consciousness communicates with all consciousness. Okay, all the time. We just have to shut up and listen to hear it. So whether you're OB
trick right there,
or
listening.
not, you're conscious when you're OBE, and you can hear other people thinking and talking. If I hear Preston talking to me and he's OBE, I'm going to answer him. That's why I did. I heard him, but it wasn't from my ear. I heard him psychically. Okay, and I said, I can't talk to you right now. It is amazing how I've had people tell me, like, okay, you know, people are passing away in the hospital. They're all in the emergency room together or in a room, and the family's there. And then suddenly the person who's sitting there says, I see so-and-so.
Deathbed visions. Yep.
Wait. It's not a vision of somebody who's already crossed. It's a vision of a relative they love clean across the country who can't be there. And they're in full communication with them. They're having a conversation with one another and saying, I'm talking to this person. And then after the person passes, that person gets to talk to you. We heard it. That's how conscious we all are and how much in communion we are. It's not just people who have passed that you can talk to you when you're passing. It's everybody you love.
Well,
that's serious stuff. Yeah.
All right.
We
still have like 5 minutes and 5 questions. So
let's get him going.
Yeah.
This is a great question from One Day Better. While in out of body, is there anywhere off limits or places we don't have access to? Have you experienced that, Jed?
Oh, like I say, I mean, I tried to get to the moon, and most of the time I end up in the upper atmosphere. Whether that, I don't even know where that is, because I have been out in space and I've been, you know, places and stuff. So I felt maybe the moon's off limits.
No, you denied yourself. Yeah, you denied yourself.
Yeah, I think so. But no, I don't know. You can't. It's not as if you go where you resonate on that journey on that particular time. You know, maybe you'll go to the lower astral because that's what you're resonating, or maybe you'll go to the higher. It's not. You can have a plan, and you can think, "Oh, I'm going to go here," and you can start saying as you're going into the OBE, "I want to go to visit it," and that might come through, but you can't be too hard on yourself about like,
no, just enjoy it, right?
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
I know with near-death experiencer, some of them have trouble reaching the other side, but with them, when you're OBE, you can go as high as you are able to sustain. I sometimes couldn't get to the very high realms because it's very energetic there. I didn't have the energy to do that.
One thing I wrote about in the book is apocalyptic marks. And these are witch marks, which are marked on various fireplaces and things. And I started thinking, well, what would they do? You know, because they're to ward off evil and ward off spirits. So people put things out to ward off spirits, that, as you know. How would that affect an astral traveller? That's something I've got to look at, really. Maybe it will, maybe it won't.
I doubt it.
On your personal energy and what you're capable of doing. I mean, if I don't want you near me, you won't come near me. I'll keep you away.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think we're all capable of that. So I think that's what magic is, like, not science. See what I'm saying?
Yeah,
right.
That's what they showed me. You've got to respect space, people's space. Okay.
Right.
I love this next question. I recommend you sleep in pajamas in case you show up somewhere you want your clothes on. No one ever reports people visit their OBEs naked or clothes optional.
I think your astral body is it's how you see yourself at the moment, probably in a good way. mine's probably about 35, 40 now. It gets older as but I don't know what clothes I wear. Actually, I never looked. I've looked at my hands and they've been glowing, but I've never thought, oh, what attire I've never really
someone
looked.
asked me that, and I checked, and I was dressed up in my work clothes. I had shoes on, and I ended up taking them off because I wanted to see my body. But I have showed up to people and like, you were in your underwear. Someone told me that, That is how I sleep. But I do get all my hair comes back. I actually regressed once till I was like 8 years old, just to experiment. I'm like, wow, look at, you can actually do this.
Oh, I said last time, looking in a mirror is good for that. Find them if you see finding a phone booth or finding a mirror. These are key things. Like who's on your end of the phone. Like find a mirror. What do you look like in the mirror? I mean, they're in the book. Like key things to do. You know, these are the things you want to do, and but you will remember that. You know, look in a mirror because you will see mirrors when you're out and about. You've got to have a look.
Yeah, I saw Dolly out of body. She was young, amazing. We definitely regress.
She still is.
Beautiful, yeah.
Oh my. Oh my God. Yeah, I prefer to I just go back to what I am and when I'm OBE.
Yeah.
You know, I have a singular identity of myself, and that's what I go into when I'm OBEing. And every now and then when I was thinking about past lives and stuff, I would try to see myself when I was OBE as I was, you know, and bring that back up. And that was interesting. I had a few interesting moments there with that. It was like trying to, how do I put this? I was revisiting myself in a prior life is what I was doing, you know, and I put that up and I went into it. I embodied it. And it's just amazing. There's nothing you can't do on the other side when you OB. Once you leave the physical realm, you're limitless, you know, just limitless. And intention is really everything, as you say. You know, you just decide what you're going to do. And it is important to remember that you have a moral amplitude that you must respect. Okay? Because for every action, there is an equal or opposite reaction. And if you do something negative, negative's going to come your way. You know?
That's what they say.
You know?
We're pretty much out of time, but I do want to pop one quick question that we can spend maybe 30 seconds on. Scott from South Carolina. In OBEs, can other entities attach to you and possess you?
I wouldn't say possess, but they can follow you back. They could follow you back to your spaces, maybe.
Yeah.
But we have ways.
Talking to you,
There's things in the book to cover that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah,
we take care of all those things in this book.
It's as safe as sleeping. You're doing it every night. No, they can't possess you.
Right. Otherwise, you'd be gone already. Yeah.
All right. Well, we really have to end the show.
That's a shame. It's been such fun.
For everyone, you know, check out the book. It works on many levels. It's an adventure story. It's a guidebook. It teaches you some really interesting. It's filled with tidbits of absolutely wonderful bits of wisdom, and it's a very unusual book. I've read all the literature on OBEs, and this is one I really highly recommend because it goes deep in directions most other books don't.
As a matter of fact, I think then our next giveaway, I think we should endeavor to give somebody this book, Preston. Okay.
Yeah, I can send a couple of books out. No problem with that.
Okay. So we'll give
it. You just give me the names, and I'll send them.
Okay.
Wonderful. Yeah, and everyone check out the website. Here, let me pop up on the banner, but it's definitely in the show notes. But here we go. Easy to find. What's your website, Jed?
Well, it's quite easy. It's www.gerardpratt.com or gerardpratt.com.
Yeah.
All right, there it is.
Perfect.
Cool. Well, I hope the book becomes a best. Well, it's already a bestseller.
Well, it says that, but I mean, you know.
If you go to Amazon, you can read a few pages of it. It allows you to do that. You should do that.
Yeah. Well, on my website, you can read the astral plane chapter.
Awesome.
So
right.
You got the full chapter there. Well, cut it off when we get to the lower astral.
Okay. Nice.
Yes.
Sorry, guys, we did run out of time. We can't answer any more questions.
No, it always goes by really fast in here. You will come back to that, yes?
Yes,
real quick. Energy shifter.
Love you guys.
He wants to know, what does it indicate when you feel heat around another being? We're suddenly awake again without normal transition.
Heat around another being. That could indicate something to do with their auric field, maybe. Like, you know, like different colors and things. That every object has an auric field around it, and that's how you move them and push objects, by tuning into the energy of the field.
Yep.
But I don't know about heat. I've not heard that one, so sorry, I don't know.
This person may not have wanted you to come near them, and they
Patsy Oyster, my
Yeah.
copy will
Weird.
arrive in 2 days. Yay! That's awesome, Patsy.
Oh, is that a copy of my book? Is she want?
Yes.
Who wants a copy? Oh well.
No. She purchased one.
Yeah.
Palpitations. I'm going to give 2 free. I'll give 2 free giveaways away. I'd be all for copies, so they might take 7 days to arrive.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about asking you, but I forgot. All right,
Well,
we'll do it. We'll do it another time. You're going to put out another book.
Yeah.
When we do a book giveaway, we'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Okay.
Right.
Give the book away. Let me know who it is, and I'll post it to them.
Yeah. Stay with us, Jed, after we hang up.
Okay.
So I want to give a quick thanks to all you guys who donated. Bob, Sonny, you guys are amazing. Namaste. Cheney Mashburn, we love you guys so much. Justin, Cherise Bazilla, you guys really delivered. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you guys all turning in.
In.
Yeah, it's awesome. We had a good time. Thanks, Judd.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, people, for tuning in.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming. We really enjoyed this with you, and you're coming back again. We're about to set a date with you after the show is over. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Light Gate on this beautiful Monday night. We are coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. I want you all to go and have a wonderful week and try this. Look into it. Search yourself. You can do it. Everybody does it. There are lots of suggestions here. We watch the show so you can pick up things that will help you get there. And we love you very much. Bye.